Being around Caitlin Clark, how was the experience for her? She's such a big star. I mean, the sky's the limit for her. To be around her, just talk about the type of person she is. You recently coached the WNBA All-Star game. You spent some time with Caitlin Clark.
Best coaching job ever.
Best coaching job
Best
ever.
coaching job ever.
What happens when a basketball legend decides she's had enough of the false narratives surrounding the WNBA's biggest rookie? Cheryl Miller just answered that question by absolutely obliterating Sheryl Swoopes' criticisms of Caitlin Clark on the All the Smoke podcast, and the basketball world is on fire. Miller didn't just defend Clark, she came with receipts. When Swoopes claimed Clark took 40 shots a game, Miller countered with the actual stats, 22.7 shots per game. When Swoopes suggested Clark needed 5 years to break the NCAA scoring record, Miller pointed out she did it in 4 and chose not to use her 5th year of eligibility. This showdown between basketball icons reveals so much about the generational divide in women's basketball right now. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
It needs to be said, I can relate to that young lady, and I felt for her.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be a black woman and hated because of my
skin.
color.
Yeah.
You know what drives me crazy? When basketball legends spread straight up lies about rising stars. That's exactly what Sheryl Swoopes did to Caitlin Clark. I mean, we're talking about someone who should know better. A WNBA icon, just throwing out completely false statements like they're facts. And these weren't little white lies or slight exaggerations. They were massive, easily disprovable claims that spread everywhere before someone finally shut them down. Let's talk about what actually happened. Swoopes went on a podcast and just started making stuff up about Clark, like completely fabricated statistics and facts that anyone with Google could check in 2 seconds. But because it came from Swoopes' mouth, people believed it. That's the dangerous part, when someone with credibility uses that trust to spread misinformation. The first bomb Swoopes dropped was claiming Clark was this 25-year-old woman playing against younger college kids. You know, basically painting her as some super mature ringer dominating inexperienced teenagers. Cheryl Miller wasn't having any of that. She immediately called out this lie, pointing out that Clark was actually 22.
To watch the dynamics and the media, they had their narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth. I didn't know how talented she was and how well she sees the game in a 3D version.
The same age as most college seniors she competed against. This wasn't some small detail Swoopes got wrong. This was a completely false narrative designed to make Clark's accomplishments seem less impressive. But Swoopes was just getting started. She then claimed Clark was this selfish player chucking up 40 shots per game. 40 shots. That would be absolutely wild in college basketball. Miller demolished this lie too, revealing the actual stats. Clark averaged 22.7 field goal attempts per game. That's not even close to 40. And here's where it gets really interesting. Miller pointed out the hypocrisy of it all. Guess how many shots Swoopes herself averaged in her senior year? 19.2 per game. That's right, Clark took just a few more shots than Swoopes did back in her day, making this criticism especially ridiculous. Imagine being so determined to tear someone down that you just make up numbers that are almost double the reality. It's one thing to have opinions about someone's game. Everyone's entitled to that. But manufacturing fake statistics, that crosses a line that shouldn't be crossed, especially by someone who young players look up to. The third lie might have been the most damaging. Swoopes tried to put an asterisk next to Clark's NCAA scoring record by claiming she only broke it because she used that extra 5th year of eligibility that players got during COVID. Again, completely false. Miller set the record straight. Clark broke the scoring record in 4 years, the exact same time frame as previous record holders, and actually chose not to use her 5th year. She could have stayed another year and shattered the record even more, but decided to enter the WNBA draft instead. Miller didn't just politely correct these inaccuracies either. She flat out called Swoopes a big dummy for spreading this misinformation without bothering to check any facts. And honestly, that response was warranted. When you're a basketball legend with influence, you have a responsibility to at least get your basic facts right before you start tearing down a young player. The basketball community was shocked by how blatantly wrong Swoopes' claims were. People expect heated debates and differing opinions about players. That's part of sports culture. But fabricating statistics and making up false narratives, that's crossing a line that even the harshest critics usually don't cross. What's particularly concerning is how these lies were specifically designed to diminish everything Clark has accomplished. The age lie was meant to suggest she had an unfair physical advantage. The shots lie was meant to paint her as selfish. The scoring record lie was meant to suggest her achievement deserved an asterisk. Each claim was carefully crafted to undermine a specific part of Clark's legacy. Let's take a step back from all those lies and ask, what happens when someone actually spends time coaching Caitlin Clark instead of criticizing her from afar? Cheryl Miller didn't just defend Clark with facts. She had the rare opportunity to coach her during the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game, and what she discovered completely flips the script on everything critics have been saying. While Swoopes was busy fabricating stories, Miller was witnessing Clark's genius firsthand. She sees the game in a 3D version, Miller revealed after coaching her. Think about that for a second. Most players, even great ones, see basketball in 2 dimensions. They react to what's happening right in front of them. But Clark, she's processing the entire court like it's a holographic chessboard, seeing plays develop before they even happen. This isn't something you can easily spot on TV. It's the kind of basketball brilliance that reveals itself when you're actually on the court with someone. Miller admitted something remarkable after coaching Clark. She didn't realize how talented she was until she experienced it firsthand. That's coming from Cheryl Miller, one of the greatest basketball players ever, saying she underestimated Clark's abilities until she coached her. What makes this revelation so powerful is that Miller isn't some random analyst or Twitter critic. She's basketball royalty. She knows what greatness looks like, and she's saying Clark has something special that most people can't even perceive properly. The most fascinating part? Miller specifically pointed to Clark's passing abilities as next level, a skill that transforms her from merely great to potentially transcendent. Miller even said this passing ability is almost non-existent in the game today, highlighting just how unique Clark's vision and distribution skills really are. While critics fixate on scoring and shot attempts, they're completely missing what actually makes her special. There's something deeply meaningful about Miller's assessment because it reveals the fundamental flaw in how Clark's critics evaluate her. They're looking at box scores and statistics, but they're missing the artistry and intelligence of her game. Elements that only become apparent when you're actually on the court with her. And let's talk about what happened after the Indiana Fever's first win of the 2024 season. Miller shared an emotional moment with Clark that reveals just how isolated the rookie has felt amid all this criticism. "I gave her the biggest hug that I could," Miller recalled. "And when she saw me, she's like, oh man, finally somebody I see that's on my side." Can you imagine that? The most hyped rookie in WNBA history, breaking records and bringing unprecedented attention to the league, feeling so alone that a simple hug from a legend meant everything? That single moment shows the human cost of all these fabricated narratives and unwarranted criticism. Miller didn't just offer support, she offered validation. While critics were busy tearing Clark down, Miller was telling her, "Keep being you, and I'm so proud of you." These weren't empty platitudes. They came from someone who had actually worked with Clark and understood the unique challenges she was facing as the face of a new era in women's basketball. This is the difference between judgment from a distance and assessment up close. Swoopes watched Clark on TV and made up stories about her age, her shots, and her accomplishments. Miller coached her, watched her process the game in real time, and came away astounded by her basketball IQ and vision. What we're seeing is a complete shift in the conversation about Clark's impact. It's no longer about defending her against false accusations or correcting the record. It's about recognizing that we might be witnessing the emergence of a player whose mental approach to the game is fundamentally different and potentially revolutionary. Basketball history is filled with players who changed how we think about the game. Some did it with athletic feats that seemed impossible. Others introduced new skills or playing styles that transformed positions. What Miller is suggesting is that Clark's contribution might be her extraordinary way of seeing and processing the game, a 3D version that allows her to make plays others can't even conceive. So we're witnessing something special with the Indiana Fever right now, and nobody recognizes it better than Cheryl Miller when she says they have a very, very bright future. That's not just empty praise. What makes her assessment so powerful is how she specifically points to their fearlessness as championship material. Think about that. A Hall of Famer with Olympic gold and multiple championships is saying this team has exactly what you need when facing adversity on the biggest stage. Their basketball IQ impressed her too, surprisingly high for such a young squad. That's why the Fever's trajectory isn't just promising, it's potentially championship bound.